So the other day I was out shopping and it was incredible to see, just so many products and in-store advertising all promoting these eco-friendly or sustainable products. And in light of the climate crisis, I kind of caught myself at one point thinking, wow, so many brands are becoming more ethical and sustainable. But as a critical thinker, I was really keen to kind of look at all these labels and all this marketing that's inundating us with all these sort of shiny green statements. And while for some brands, I'm sure, it is true, and other brands maybe in some areas of their business, unfortunately, not everything being claimed as being eco shines green from its core. And this had me thinking, if it isn't hard enough for us to try and take individual action to help fight the climate change and do the right thing, it's so frustrating to know that, we're often faced with these misleading green claims, aka greenwashing. But what is greenwashing and why are companies employing greenwashing techniques and how can we recognize it? Well, welcome to this episode where we're going to dig deep into the world of the 7 shady sins of greenwashing. So let's jump in, answer these questions, and we'll use examples of companies who are actually engaged in doing it. During 2020, the European Commission ran this extensive investigation across a huge or diverse group of websites to identify greenwashing, and they shockingly discovered that 42% of cases, green claims were either exaggerated, false, or even deceptive. And industries like the fast fashion brand websites didn't escape this line of auditing. The not-for-profit Changing Markets Foundation went on to highlight that as many as 59% of all green claims by European and UK fashion brands were misleading, aka greenwashing, in their 2021 report. And if you're curious just how damaging fast fashion is, then you should check out my video from the link above. So what then is greenwashing? Well, greenwashing is when business and industry makes, these unjustified and misleading claims that their brands, products and or services are more environmentally friendly than they really are. And it can be used as a marketing tactic, as many organizations have been called out for sort of pumping more money and time into promoting themselves as being environmentally friendly relative to the actual time and money spent on minimizing their environmental impact. But fair to be said, greenwashing can be used intentionally or unintentionally. And this is what makes greenwashing just so dangerous. So why then would a company or an industry intentionally employ greenwashing techniques? Well, simply put, they want to be seen as being green. What you might be surprised to learn is that greenwashing actually isn't something that's new. In fact, we can look back to the 1960s when the sustainability movement really sort of started to, take place. And during this era, a new consumer was born, the green consumer. And like any new consumer groups, there's money, well, a lot of money to be made. And many businesses and industries, in their attempt to lure in this green audience, chose to use deceit and sweep any dirty truths about their organization sort of under the carpet. However, like our parents told us, sooner or later lies are going to be exposed. And more recently, with climate change, really getting the recognition and the attention that it deserves, and the massive concern by public has shifted our behaviors to acting more green, which is ultimately seeing the rise of greenwashing. Now, you would have thought that, with so many of us being so skeptical these days, that, business and industry wouldn't go down such a risky path for short-term financial gains. But hey, marketing is always one step ahead of us, and well, money talks. So how can we recognize greenwashing? Well, the climate crisis has really brought forth to sort of our attention as consumers that we need to always be critical thinkers. It's exhausting, and we need to look and investigate and ask questions beyond, what we're being told. And true to be said, it isn't always easy. But at the same time, we don't want to fall into this trap of FOMO, this fear of missing out, of, living in simpler times when we could trust what we were being told, where the grass was greener, excuse the pun. The truth is not a generation alive has not been deceived one way or another through marketing or communications. And, be it climate related, and let's look at the oil industry, for example. The Guardian reported that the oil industry had research in the 1968 that the release of carbon dioxide from fossil fuels could lead to worldwide environmental changes, to, manipulations about wars and back to colonialism and even further beyond. And I often hear sort of, older generations say, well, we didn't know any better. Whereas nowadays, we're much more skeptical and we're much more critical thinkers. And if we want to be informed, we can be better informed. Nevertheless, we are witnessing greenwashing sort of manifesting in, many ways, including, sort of subtle advertising to, ambitious claims without full transparency to outright deception. So let's jump into those 7 shady sins of greenwashing and look at some well-known companies who are exaggerating, making false claims, and those who are just simply being deceptive. The sin of the hidden trade-off is when an environmental issue is seemingly solved, but the solution ends up creating or contributing to yet another environmental issue. A great example of this, and lest we forget, the great plastic straw debacle of 2018-2019. The world demanded the end of plastic straws following those tragic images of our oceans and marine life impacted by the plastic straws. And companies, not to lose customers, scrambled to opt for other solutions like these 2 global giants. McDonald's went green in a huge fanfare of removing plastic straws for paper ones. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a great idea, but the problem was McDonald's new paper straws are not recyclable, and they're just trading off one problem for another. And in a great public announcement, Starbucks opted to remove plastic straws from their lids. Cutting down plastic is great, right? Or was it? Starbucks replaced the straws with a strawless lid design. However, these lids were notably made from a thicker plastic. Now, despite these lids being easier for the recycled catchment, critics were quick to point out that only 9% of the world's plastic is recycled, and the company can't just assume that lids would be recycled. The sin of no proof is where environmental claims are made and are not backed up, ideally with factual evidence supported by a third-party certification. Now, there are numerous examples out there of such claims, particularly when a claim is made that a certain percentage of the products comes from consumer recycled content. Things like household lamps, personal care products, particularly related to animal testing, and paper towels, toilet paper, and tissues are big ones. But babies' diapers don't get excluded here. The Baby Giant brand Huggies were called out over their pure and natural diaper products. The packaging suggests it was green, with a youngster happily sitting on green grass surrounded by green leaves, and of course the product name Pure and Natural. The packaging claims that the use of organic materials, however the fine print and lack of data and sources proved it wasn't so green after all. The brand's website also indicated that just a small percentage of the product was made from renewable materials, and cotton was only used on a very small portion outside of the diaper. The sin of vagueness is where a claim has been made, yet it lacks any specifics to support the claim, and therefore it becomes deemed meaningless. Most commonly, we see this sin being committed through word use without clear explanation or justification for their use. Terms such as green, sustainable, and eco have all become diluted by their overuse. These words have become overpopularized and are used as buzzwords, spreading across many sectors and losing their real meaning along the way. And sustainability is a great example of this. If everything is or seems to be sustainable these days, but how much of that is directly related to the actual meaning of taking only what you need and leaving systems capable to continue in existence? Think about it next time you hear the word sustainability. And terms such as chemical-free, non-toxic, and all-natural are simple contradictions. Everything is chemicals, even water. Everything is toxic in large enough quantities, and natural can also be bad. Think arsenic or uranium or mercury even. And fast fashion brands are the queens of all vagueness. H&M, Zara, ASOS, and Boohoo are all under investigations for greenwashing on certain lines promoted as eco-friendly. They have claims for misleading consumers by failing to provide adequate detail about why their garments are less polluting than other garments. A nice name, a buzzword catchline, an eco-friendly looking tab or a store poster isn't enough. The sin of worshipping false labels describes the creation of false certifications or labels to mislead consumers. Fake certifications mislead consumers into believing a product or service went through a legitimate green screening process. Now, we talked just previously with fast fashion using labels that may have us thinking their products are green, yet they're so vague with specific information missing to back up their claims. And this is similar with false labels. And if anyone saw the documentary Seaspiracy, you'll be aware of the fishing industry whose labels didn't actually meet the standards of what we expect of them. In fact, in 2001, the International Maritime Organization, or the IMO, discovered over 12,000 cases of certification forgery. And a 2019 World Health Organization report into the palm oil industry finds extensive greenwashing of human rights abuses, deforestation, air pollution, and human health impacts. So check out in the description box below for a comprehensive list of reliable green certifications. Now, the sin of irrelevance describes products and services that make an environmental claim that may be truthful, but it's unimportant or unhelpful in helping us to make the right purchasing decisions. For a company to be really green, it's important to understand that protecting the environment becomes a core value of that organization, and that this value influences all of their products and services and also their own internal beliefs and operations of that organization. Otherwise, it's just simply jumping on the bandwagon for a greenwashing ride. But the sin of irrelevance isn't always an easy one to detect. Think CFCs. We all know that CFCs are deadly to the ozone layer, and the world responded to this with banning the use of CFC products. The EU banned product sale and development of CFCs back in 1994. That's almost 30 years ago, yet we still see products advertising themselves as CFC friendly. And this is a tricky psychological one because we know that they're bad, so when we see this CFC free, we automatically assume that the product is friendly for the planet. And companies' market research shows that it can influence our purchasing behavior to choose this product over a competitor's product, whereas neither of them are allowed to contain CFC, so essentially making the products the same. It's a trick to catch the eco-conscious consumer and present a product as being environmentally friendly using useless and outdated information. The sin of the lesser two evils is when a company's product or service claims to have environmental benefits, but in reality there's question over whether there was any environmental benefit to start with. It's important to be aware that all business uses natural resource and energy, and this is why to achieve our net zero by 2050, the world needs to find ways to produce just about everything. But in the meantime, as we aim for this goal, some companies and industries are simply just way more harmful than others. And if you haven't checked out my series so far on the dairy industry, then please do so from the link here. And while we're on the meat and dairy industry, take a look at Burger King and their committing of the sin of the lesser two evils. Like many companies, Burger King has been developing more sustainable alternatives. However, in marketing fanfare to keep consumer confidence or profit, referring to these developments as good for the environment is actually misleading. In July 2020, Burger King released their Reduced Methane Beef campaign, and you can check it out from the link in the description box below. This highly entertaining and colourful commercial in true Burger King style went all out to discuss, and I quote, "Cow farts and burps are no laughing matter. They release methane contributing to climate change. That's why we're working hard to change our cows' diet by adding lemongrass to reduce their emissions by approximately 33%. Now, critics were quick to point out the overall emission saving were negligible in a hugely environmentally damaging industry. The meat and dairy industry are set to overtake fossil fuels as the largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, the sin of fibbing describes environmental claims that are blatantly false. And the most common examples are products falsely claiming to be Energy Star certified or registered. But let us not forget here the most brazen company of them all, Coca-Cola, one of the world's most widely available and popular drinks, whom also happen to be the world's largest plastic polluters. And just a fact here, Coke produces 3 million tons of plastic packaging per year. That's about 200,000 bottles every minute, which is almost double that of other large plastic polluting companies such as Nestle, Unilever, or Colgate-Palmolive all combined. Coke recently hit headline controversy with its World Without Waste marketing campaign. The Earth Island Institute is suing the company for greenwashing and making false claims about being a sustainable company. Coke are working very hard to promote a green image these days, despite stating that they will not change from plastic bottles because it's what the consumer wants. Now, you would think that they would invest their money into cutting their plastic bottle production or developing more efficient ways to recycle these plastics. But they have claimed that they want to be 100% recycled of their bottles by 2050. But of course, this is shifting the responsibility onto people actually recycling them. Their website even went as far as stating, "We act in ways to create a more sustainable and better shared future, to make a difference in people's lives, communities, and our planet by doing business the right way." Now, sure, some of this is correct, I have no doubt, but the core of their business model is simply not protecting the planet. And certainly being crowned the world's largest plastic polluter isn't helping their cause. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on that bell for future updates. You might be also interested to check out these two short series, dairy products and fast fashion. You can click on these links here. Thanks for watching the 7 Deadly Sins of Greenwashing, and I look forward to seeing you next time.